Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Isaiah Donaldson, and I'm the marketing specialist here at DISYS. Today, we will have a live Q&A with our DISYS Energy Service Team, and our presenter today will be Ash Srivastava, who is the VP of Energy Services and International Operations here at DISYS, and he will be answering all of those critical questions you have today. Ash?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ash Srivastava, and I'm the Vice President of DISYS Energy Vertical and International Markets. DISYS is a fast-growing IT services company, and we are organized around 5 key industry verticals, of which the energy sector is the largest one globally. I'm very excited to be here today, and I believe that our industry offers some significant opportunities as well as significant challenges to our clients and employees. A little bit about my background and history in the industry. I've been in the IT services industry for the last 2 decades, and primarily my experience has been in working with global and enterprise clients in helping them with their overall IT strategy, as well as helping them align their IT strategy to the business side. More specifically, over the last couple of years, we've had the great fortune of working with some of the large global enterprise clients, both in the oil and gas and utility space. And this has really allowed us to gain a unique perspective around the industry that we are excited to share today. So the goal of today's call is couple-fold. We'd like to share with you some of the lessons learned and knowledge that we've gathered working with our energy clients. Obviously, in the recent times, this industry is going through some significant challenges and transformation, and we're excited to share with you what some of those challenges are and how some of those customers are overcoming those. And then finally, if there are any questions around DISYS and the capabilities we offer, we are excited to share that as well.
Okay, thanks, Ash. Those of you who are logged on into GoToWebinar, please use the chat box to send us your questions. And we already have a few questions that were submitted ahead of time, so we'll start with those first. The first question is, which solutions are you seeing most requested across the energy client?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jan, and you know what I'd like to start by saying is that we do hear a lot about the challenges and the downturn in the industry, such as the price of oil. And on the utility side, we hear a lot about the regulated environment. And what I'd like to talk more about is what are the challenges, and more importantly, what are some of the opportunities, since we hear so much about the challenges. First of all, we see tremendous need for organizations to build operational efficiencies. And what that means truly is, in a nutshell, is accelerating productivity and doing things better. You know, the way you do things, you do it better, you do it with lower cost. And building operational efficiency is resulting in many ways to leverage analytics as a primary solution. So that's one key area where people are looking for solution. The other area that I see a lot of need for assistance in the area of mobile space. Obviously, as the demographics of this industry is changing and the technology landscape is changing, there is an increasing need to enable the field workforce with handheld devices, with intelligent mobile solutions, so that they can take real-time decisions and enable them quickly. So we see a lot of need for mobile solutions. Thirdly, most of you have probably already heard about this phenomena called the Great Decay, and there's some independent research done by Forrester that concludes that in the next 5 years, there's going to be a significant exodus of the workforce to the tune of almost 50%. And that's driving a need for organizations to look internally at their processes, to look internally at their HR practices, how they can hire people better, how they can retain people better, but more importantly, how they can also align their systems to better suit the needs of a changing demographic, right? So that is a huge phenomenon. We see a lot of needs around that. Of course, safety is always a core priority for all these organizations, and we see tremendous need around training, development there. And last but not least, we see a lot of needs around automation. So those are some of the 4 or 5 key needs that we see across the industry.
Thanks, Ash. Can you talk more about analytics? We seem to have multiple questions about that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Analytics, to me, and the way I look at analytics is it's not an important solution. It's actually a critical path solution to this industry. I hear a lot about analytics, and many organizations are investing a lot of time and energy in that. And let me speak to the ways in which the organizations are doing that. So first of all, for the oil and gas side, I see organizations use to leverage analytics to drive operational efficiency, which primarily is cost reduction. And I was at a conference earlier on the business side and happened to talk to some of the senior executives on the operational side, and they were very excited about how analytics can give them data mining capabilities on the field so that they can leverage that analytic solution to do better workforce optimization, to use the data to schedule the workforce better, to be able to be preventative and identify faults and failures that can be prevented without having the need to go out and deploy a field workforce, which actually ends up being a costly solution. So analytics on the oil and gas side, I see that there is tremendous opportunity, especially to drive operational efficiency. On the utility side, it really is about being smarter and making smarter decisions. And as many of you already know, there are tremendous opportunities out there in the areas of smart grids and smart meters. And companies are leveraging analytics as a way to better empower the customer to look at the usage of their energy usage in the household or commercial and make better decisions around how they can optimize that usage. So those are some of the ways to give you some examples, we've had some interaction with Google, we've had some interaction with companies like Schlumberger, and they are doing significant amount of innovation in the area of analytics. So I can expand more if needed, but hopefully that helps.
The next question we have is, DISYS has a strong reputation in the staffing space. What personnel trends are you seeing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, historically, what we've seen that both the oil and gas and utility space has relied on contract staffing, and our business at DISYS has also grown through that. You know, what we are seeing in the current downturn with the price of oil and the need for transformation, we are seeing that companies are looking at staffing solutions somewhat differently. We're seeing a lot of companies look at managed services, meaning shifting the engagement model from more resource intensive to outcome based, and companies are certainly looking at managed services with a global delivery component to drive better operational efficiency, to drive better results for the business. We're also seeing that sourcing executives particularly are looking at their current vendor portfolio, and they're looking at, you know, are they better optimized? Do they need to do some kind of vendor rationalization? You know, what I see is that a lot of sourcing executives will look at some kind of margin concession from their partners, which normally is, while it's an okay place to start, but does not give these sourcing executives the full leverage that they're looking for. What they really truly try to strive for is a win-win solution, which a managed services offering does offer. In addition to that, I also see that companies are looking at automation as a key part of their overall staffing and sourcing strategy. So not only being able to deliver more with less through a managed services solution and improving quality and innovation, but also leveraging automation that drives better efficiencies in the overall portfolio. So we are seeing, you know, this parallel strategy of automation being part of the staffing optimization into more managed services. That helps.
Thanks, Ash. What are DISYS' main offerings in the oil and gas arena?
Right. So as I mentioned earlier, you know, we operate both in the oil and gas and utility space, and you know, our offerings are aligned to what some of the challenges are that I mentioned earlier on. DISYS, you know, is a very focused company. You know, we don't do all things for all people. That's the reason we have organized ourselves around key industry verticals, and we have chosen that the energy, utility, oil and gas space is one of those sectors. In order for us to better align to our customers' needs around operational efficiency, the aging workforce, safety, and faster decision making, we offer 3 or 4 key solutions around the IT landscape. The first one is around analytics, and we are engaged with a number of global customers in offering them analytics solution. The second one is we do offer a significant amount of SAP in the managed services arena, and we've had a number of engagements. The third, we also operate with our clients in the mobile space, and as I mentioned earlier on, when I was talking about empowering the field workforce with better decision making and handheld devices. So we've had a number of examples of DISYS helping companies in the midstream space where there's a need for better mobile solutions. Our HR team has developed a very innovative global safety solution, which is around what is called WorkSafe, and that's more around ergonomics and case management, and we deploy that across all our solutions, whether it's staffing or managed services. And last but not the least, we have capabilities in the infrastructure space, particularly around driving operational efficiency and helping with things like asset moves and data center consolidations.
Okay, the next question we have, it looks like this one is a more finance related. It says, as a line manager, many of our decisions are now driven by budget. What are some of the cost benefits to these answer solutions, to these newer solutions that I can share with my finance leadership?
Yeah, this is a really good question because I hear this quite a bit, and in fact, when I was earlier at an oil and gas investor conference, I approached one of the executives there and talked to them about this very question about really the investment in technology and how does some of the business case get approved. And the simple feedback that I got from that executive was that it really has to move the needle, right? And especially in current times. So my coaching to anybody who's looking to move forward some of the analytics needs or mobile solutions that I talked about earlier on, is really important to tie some of those solutions to the critical business issues that I talked about earlier. So as long as we can tie some of the technology investments that either a line management or senior IT management is wanting to make, as long as we can tie that to either operational efficiency, which is primarily cost reduction, or safety and regulatory compliance, or addressing the needs of an aging workforce, I do see that the senior executives, especially in the finance side, being very well aware of what some of the challenges in the industry are. They are looking at those business cases with seriousness, and they're moving them forward.
Okay, we have some questions from our chat box. Why is it that O&G has lagged behind in technological advancement?
Yeah, I think the main reason for this is, a lot of this revolves around, and this is a highly regulated industry, so the things don't move as fast. I think that's primarily one of the main reasons where, as much as you would want to move things really quickly, there is a regulated environment that you have to deal with, right? The second is that a lot of these companies, both in the oil and gas and utility, have a very long-term outlook. And unlike some of the other commercial sectors where IT plans are 2 or 3 years, some of the projects that, especially the oil and gas companies look at, these projects are 15, 20 years long, and they involve massive capital investments. So because they have a long-term view, some of the technology investments that are made with that view, and they're not as quick to adapt. Although I am seeing, some of the companies that are out there, especially in the utility side, I'm looking at companies like, say, Exelon, or even on the oil and gas companies like Schlumberger. They are looking at some fairly innovative solutions, particularly ones that moving things to the cloud. And you would not have heard this, maybe 3 years ago, but the IT organization of some of these companies is looking at moving applications to the cloud and looking at leveraging innovation. So some of the things that we may not have heard before in terms of change, which was not easy to implement because of the regulated environment, etc. Because of the business climate, because of the business drivers, companies are really forced to adapt to that. And another example would be one of our other customers in the utility space who had traditionally not considered a managed services solution. They had traditionally relied on heavy staff augmentation solution, and eventually they found that that was a very costly solution in the long run, and it did not include a lot of risk from their partner community. They looked at that, they looked at long-term objectives, and now they're also looking very selectively at driving more managed services. So things do change in this industry, I believe. The regulated environment does make it harder. The long-term view to the industry also is a factor to it. But I do believe that there are good examples of companies who are now looking to adapt and change because that's what they have to do to grow and survive.
Okay. Should O&G really be so afraid of the great crew change, otherwise known as grade 2K?
Yeah, not really. I think that when the first few times I heard about it, it was almost like a scary moment, right? When you think about 50% of the workforce is going to exit in the next 5 years. I mean, that is a fairly significant statement, right? But keep in mind, a lot of this change is happening in the non-IT side in the field. Of course, on the IT side also, we see a lot of folks that are getting to the retirement age. So I actually think that this is more an opportunity than a concern, right? Because it is causing the IT executives and HR executives to look at their strategy more long-term, to look at this as an opportunity. And the good news is that most of these companies are very well aware of this phenomenon. So this is not something new to them. They have a number of plans in place already. To give you some examples, some of the majors, super majors that we work with, they have partnered with universities. And in terms of the hiring and the onboarding process, their HR executives have developed really mission-critical learning management systems, knowledge onboarding tools, and they also look at this exiting workforce to be brought back as consultants or Newtons, right, to help with the knowledge transition, to help with the learning curve. So I actually look at this phenomena less as a concern, but more as an opportunity. And I haven't even talked about some of the opportunities that it creates to upgrade the IT systems, right? Keep in mind, when you bring in people that are different age group, that have different needs, they operate differently, they adopt to technology a lot faster and a lot differently than perhaps some of the earlier crew that has been engaged for the last number of decades, right? So it's a great question, but I see this less as a fear, less as a concern. I see this something that's well understood and well underway, I would say, by a lot of our clients, and it creates a lot of opportunities for these companies, especially to advance the IT systems.
Okay, Ash, we have one last question. Can you define what advanced analytics means?
Yeah, so this is a good question because a lot of times I think we might misinterpret analytics and business intelligence, in the traditional sense, right? And the traditional sense, business intelligence is a lot about reporting, leveraging business objects and things like that, to drive better reporting and that sort of thing, right? And which is, I think, the foundation for any BI solution. Advanced analytics is more about doing things that are predictive in nature, right? And that's where organizations, both in the oil and gas and utility space, are heavily investing. Not so much in the BI and reporting, because that's fairly well understood. That's fairly repeatable. People have a good handle on that. They do it through tools that I mentioned, or a lot of companies have outsourced that to lower cost locations, where either through the leverage of global delivery or labor arbitrage and automation, the reporting part is well understood and taken care of. Now, when I say advanced analytics is more about predicting things, right, to make better decisions. So example of that would be, one of our clients, they have this, unique solution around the drills that they use that are operating under the harshest conditions, right? Now, what they do, they leverage data science to predict under what conditions that drill bit might fail, right? And they make certain decisions around that. and that, using data science as in a preventative form allows them to lower their costs and allows them to make better decisions. So that's an example of predictive analytics, right? Another example is, Google, most of you already know Google, large technology company, is in early stages of launching a product that leverages satellite imagery and all the data that's being gathered from satellite imagery and the analytics around the data to better predict the reserves of oil around the world, and think about the commercial application of that. So there's a difference between BI and analytics, and advanced analytics is more about predictive. I will say that this is probably, if you are a professional and if you're looking to upgrade your skills, this is probably the hardest area that I see. Data science, data scientist is a very tough skill to find. It's a lot in demand. The underlying skills for this area are mathematics and engineering, and then on top of that you build the predictive part. So there are organizations that are investing in data scientists, that are actively on the lookout for creating groups of data scientists, and that is a significant opportunity both for professionals and for organizations.
Okay, Ash, that completes our questions. Thank you, Ash, for answering all of our critical questions. And I want to remind everyone that we have these webinars and live Q&As regularly across all of our verticals, which include banking, healthcare, energy, high-tech, government, and transportation, just to name a few. And thank you, and have the great rest of your day.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining.